Hey guys, Paul McClaney, and welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast. And I got a special guest. I got him in the studio, my good buddy Stephen E. How you doing, Stephen?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good to see you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
And I'll tell you guys this much, man. I've known Stephen. We've known each other for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
How long has it been now?
Men 14. That's like 7 years, dude.
7 years. It goes right back to, I remember doing those meetings, and a couple people brought it up. Joe actually spoke about it, but doing those meetings in that little country club room with like 8.5 people. And you say, how did you get half? I don't know. One of them just didn't look like they were all there, so we counted them as a half person. But to see where the business is at now, like you've got teams in your organization that are doing 9 times more than what the whole hierarchy was doing at that point in time.
Right.
And it was really just kind of a vision of this is what it could look like, this is what it could be, and but not a whole lot of clarity on where to step and how to step. It was like just surviving. Can we figure out leads? Can we figure out this and that? It's just kind of crazy to think, man, where it's gone the last 7 years.
Right. Watching the company grow, because a lot of people say, Paul, they go, man, I wish I got started the day one. I'm like, no, you don't, because I remember my first lead purchase. Andrew was like, all right, so you're going to contact this lady. We're going to drop 2 G's. Okay. They're going to take about 3 weeks to mail, and you won't get your first lead back for another 4.5 weeks. Compared to now, it's like we can get instant internet leads.
Dude, think about how that sounds. It sounds like my daughter would say, that's like sus. I was like, what does that mean? She's like, Dad, you know what that means? I'm like, no, I don't know what sus means. But that's what it sounds like. Right. Like you got to go around the back alley, and then knock twice and we'll let you in the back door. You're like, what? Right. Like, am I going to get killed?
Right.
That's how it was, though, dude. No structure, nothing.
Nothing. And I remember when I was sitting there and I was talking to Andrew, I was like, hey, this business model makes sense. Like, I think I want to bring some friends to sell insurance with me. And they're like, no. Until you write 20 grand, you're not allowed to hire anybody, because we didn't have the lead flow to support people. Now, on the other hand, it's completely changed. That's the beauty of FFL is we grow and adapt, especially with this new virtual thing, the agency's taken off.
Right.
Because now we're able to, for example, in our group, 2 people specifically, we have an agent that recently was diagnosed with a terminal illness, but their immune system is not able for them to go do face-to-face, so they're going to go knock it on telesales and Zoom. So they can continue to have their income.
That's great, dude.
And I'm like, we've never been able to do that, And so with Sean and with all the leadership here at FFL and how we continuously grow the company and adapt to the new things is that's why I love it here, man.
I agree, man. It's almost like once we figure out what to adapt to, dude, it's like an all-out assault.
Right.
Massive activity, nonstop, like a relentless pursuit to now be the best and be excellent in that. And that's how it was, man. That's kind of like, and I love what you said, because somebody said, did I miss a boat? I said, dude, in day one, you would have tied an anchor to both ankles and you would have tripped yourself to fall off the boat. And what happened to Bob? Well, he's gone. Right. I mean, that's what it would have been like. So no, you didn't miss a boat. Right. This is the time is now. And I always clarify that by numbers. I had somebody say dude, everybody's always said that. I'm like, that's true. The company I used to work with, was time is now. Right. And then I was like, and I look at the numbers 6 months later, nothing's changed. But dude, we were doing $2 million a month a couple years ago, just our small fraction of the company, and we grew by $2 million in 30 days. Right. So it took us, 8 years to get to. We did in 30 days, which is crazy.
You want to know what's funny is Andrew's manager called 2 weeks ago. He was like, hey guys, look, this is the October 2019 issue paid report. And he's going through, he's like, number 1 agency, Trey Honeycutt, number 2, Grady, number 3, he went to I think it was Egan. And I was like, I don't think you forgot or didn't catch it. Dave Richard's not on there because he wasn't here yet. The fastest agency builders and the best producers aren't even in our company yet, dude. Like Josh Williams, right? 0 to $1 million in 7 months. Pull their IP report from last year. He's not on there, but he's going to be one of the fastest guys. And that's why I always tell people, no, you didn't miss the boat. It's the prime time is now.
Hey, why do you think that is? Do you think maybe it has something to do with, I remember reading one time, Stephen, they said that immigrants are 7 times more likely to become millionaires than natural born citizens. Do you think that we kind of sometimes could take it for granted and then they come in with clear eyes?
My mom. So I'm Asian, surprise, right? My mom immigrated to the United States and she came from China, where to run business, it's so corrupt. You have to pay government officials and do this and that, and they can do whatever they want with you anytime they want. They come here and they go, this is the easiest thing in the world. I can so where I used to live in Rolling Heights, there's 3 sections, right? So Rolling Heights is a hill, and so the bottom part of the Rolling Heights area was like all the apartments. Mm-hmm. And in the middle part of Rolling Heights were all the single family homes, and then on the hills were all the $1 million homes. And you would literally watch an immigrant go from living in the apartments to the single family homes to the multi-million-dollar homes in 5 years.
Wow.
And you would go, how'd you do it? And they're like, are you kidding me? Like, we opened up a business and we just worked 60, 70 hours a week because we're allowed to. And this is what we did. And then the people that live here go, that's too much work. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm very comfortable. Mm-hmm. And it's like the immigrant mentality. It's not just Asians. It's like every type of immigrant. They come here. This is the land of the free, right? For a reason, is they're able to do these things. And I'm like, so many agents come here and do the same thing. Like the thing that sucks, like for example, you guys came from a place that you weren't able to have what we have now. Mm-hmm. I was born at FFL, meaning I don't know how bad it sucks outside.
Right.
And so like when you see some of these agents come from other companies, it's like the immigrant. They go, we know how bad it sucks out there. We're going to treat this like the American dream and go get it. And so like sometimes I feel like it's almost a disservice that agents start immediately with us because they don't know how bad it could be. Like they're born into the Ferrari, the Rolls Royce. They're not in a Pinto that they have to scale up in, you know?
Well, to your point though, Stephen, you were born in like the slums of Cleveland in America when it came to the start point of FFL. So like, yeah, you were born in America, but dude, like I was born in like the worst, like the median income where I was born was like $2,200 a year, you know? And so you did kind of at least have some of that perspective, you know, which I think is important. And I think that, you know, think about how many times we've said, if an agent doesn't have a license, they're a clean slate, which is true. They don't have any bad habits. Yep. Now I'm thinking that like also though, somebody that has seen success in an industry or an IMO within this industry that the deck stacked against, whether that's comp, leads, training,
fees,
even the standard, man. Yeah. Like think about how that has an impact. Like a lot of places, if you work there and you write 20K, you're the top person.
100%.
Well, then what are the odds of you writing 100K in your own pin? 0.
Right.
Maybe 30, 40. They're like, oh my God, he walks on water. But 100? But when you come here, you're in an environment where really the best is brought out of you.
Right.
Because everybody has it in you.
Right.
Everybody's got that person deep down in you. I like thinking of like, you know, Peter and Simon in the Bible. Like Simon was who he was, like not who he was called to be. That's just how he was living, who he thought he was. But Jesus brought out the Peter in him, right? And not to preach, but I just think it's applicable to this. Like when you come on board at FFL, anybody can be successful here.
Right.
Everybody's got the Peter in them, right? But when you come in, the standard, I think a lot of times will throw dirt on it or throw Miracle-Gro on it, you know, which is kind of cool.
No, you're 100% right. We just brought on a group of agents from another company, and they've been in business for 15, 20 years. And when I found, I was like, hey, what was your number one producer ever written? They're like, you know, 285. And I was like, watch this. I was like, you see that guy right there? He's had his insurance license for 9 months. He's issued $300,000 for the year. You see that guy right there? He's had his insurance license for 17 months. He's issued $700,000 for the year. I was like, it's because the systems at FFL are what makes the agents who they are. Because, you know, basketball, right? The Golden State Warriors, their system, you can plug and play different players, and that system will still work. You look at Phil Jackson, one of the most winningest coach, you can take his offensive system, you know, the triangle offense, and you could, I take Michael Jordan out, and I put Kobe Bryant in, I still win. The systems at FFL is what does that for agents. You know, because we have leads, we don't have to make a list of friends and family. We don't have to bother them and be that weird first, you know, person at, you know, Christmas or Thanksgiving, because we don't need that to generate business. And that's the reason why our company's growing at the rate it's growing.
Well, I agree 100%. And I think that's so good because that's the underlying things. It's the system and standard. And sometimes like the comp and all that stuff, it's so easy to look at. Like it's like tangible, almost like it's comp, leads, like that's objective. It's seen. But I think the things you talked about, Stephen, it's like the things that are unseen that matter more than what is seen.
Right.
And that's kind of the beauty between, like, it's almost like, you know, under promising and over delivering is what people experience because they come for the comp, they come for the leads, and they're like, oh, wait, I got all that stuff, but I didn't realize the system and the standards were going to do this for my business and my financial situation. Steve, you work with a lot of great groups, a lot of good people. And I know you've been here for quite a while. Mm-hmm. So maybe talk about what are some attributes you see about in people that lead them to success? Almost maybe even talk about the DNA of the company, because I think some people are part of it, but they don't realize, or they're not, submerged into the calls and podcasts enough to really pick up these attributes that are essential.
One of the things that I always tell people is the training that you don't listen to can't help you. And I was always a sponge. Like when I learned how to play golf, or when I watched, how to shoot a basketball, my thing was, I'm going to watch you do it. How tucked in is your elbow? Is your elbow flared out? Where's your guide? Like, I'm watching you because you have the result that I aspire to have. And so we have all these trainings and podcasts and things that are out there that are here to design to grow the agent, whether it's teaching them how to write 20, 30, 50 grand a month or 100 grand a month, or it's teaching them how to build $1 million business. That content is free. However, because it's free, the value of it sometimes is our agents go, I can access it whenever I want. And they don't watch it immediately, and that hurts them. For me, it's hard work is a skill, number one, I think. And I think that a lot of people, we do such a good job of, you can make 20 grand, and it's like we almost make it too easy. And to the point where it's like people get comfortable, man. It's like I say there's 3 lines. If you look at it, it's like there's crisis mode, there's survival mode, and then there's success mode. The same energy it takes someone to go from crisis to survival mode is the same energy it takes for someone to go to survival to success. However, at the middle, at the survival mode, we have complacency. We have comfort. And it's like for someone that's never made 20 grand a month before, now they're making 20 grand a month, they're like, I'm good. You see, so battling complacency is a big deal that I think I've seen is, the guys that are growing really, really fast in our group, yes, they never made this type of money before, but they're like, no, the money's great, but it's not enough, because it's not about the money. It's how many other people can we share and help them receive the same thing that we feel. Like, I might be able to live in this house or drive this car, but can I get you to do it? Can I get him to do it? Can I get her to do it? Right? And that's one thing that I've always said. I'm a big leadership guy, and John C. Maxwell said, success is when you can create it for yourself. Significance is when you can do it for others.
Well, I think that's really the catalyst to having a group that continues to grow, is what you just said. It's great that you've done it, but it feels so much better when you've seen somebody else do it. And it's kind of hard to get that until you experience it, until you actually have somebody and you see their life change, and that you didn't do it for them, but just the fact that you led, guided, directed, maybe highlighted things that they should do or stopped. You did that, and then you see them succeed. I mean, it's like you're like, I don't care if I lose my success as long as I can keep that feeling. That's what we're created for.
That's what I coach basketball for. I was like, I wanted to see the kid as a freshman that couldn't walk and chew gum and tie his own shoes. By the time he's a senior, he's the man on the campus. What happened? His bodies might change a little bit, but it's the 6 inches between the ear, the mentality, the belief in themselves. And watching people come into this business and they're not in the financial situation or even the mental space that they want to be at. And then, 30, 60, 90 days, a year from now, you're like, dude, that's the same person, but 2 different people. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I didn't do anything because they did all the work. They bought the leads, they ran the appointments, they did all that, they grew the agency, but we just had a little bit of influence on that. And that's what makes me sleep real good at night.
Yeah.
Because we're actually changing the world for the better.
One thing I tell the staff when we hire and bring somebody on board is like, my goal, because who knows what's going to happen. 6 months, 2 years. I mean, like, heck, if all of a sudden you get an opportunity where it's 7 times better somehow,
right?
Like, I'm going to bless you. Like, right. Thank God, good for you. But I want you to look back and say, I'm a better person because of working there.
Yep.
I think bigger. I think differently.
Yep.
The way I feel and think about myself and about other things, it's more abundant than it was lack. I mean, I want them to think that. And the cool thing about this business is you develop in those areas. Like, I'm a better dad, a better spouse. I'm better for a better coach with my kids' soccer. I'm better in all these areas because of working here and being exposed to high level thought process, being exposed to people like Sean Mike for so long, where I start to grab different things, because everybody has different stuff. Some are more charismatic. Some are more, direct and bold and able to challenge people better. Some are better at empowering, equipping. Some are better with, connecting. But what we get is the best in all those areas. And so when I watch different people, I can glean from that and say, I'm going to apply this, just like you said. Yeah. How can I be coachable and in a student where I can grab the best attributes from what they're doing and increase mine, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we sell and that's how we build a team, right? Like when I first got started here, it wasn't, there's only that many sales trainers. So I was like, my in-home presentation was a little bit of Paul McLean, a little bit of Andrew Taylor, a little bit of Matt Smith, and I blended it into my own. And then I developed my own style and did the same. Learning how to build a business was a little bit of this person, a little bit of that person, blending. That's the beauty of what we have here. It's like a buffet, right? And it's like, hey, we have all these options. And at a buffet, it's like you walk by the options. If you don't want it, you don't take it. You just walk right by it. But if you want it, you can put it on your plate. Right. And that's the beauty of what we have here is we have so many different ways. Like you can take all the Hall of Fame producers we have, they can do all their in-home presentations and it will never sound the same. But it's okay because it's the structure within it and the little things that they do that like this guy goes, hey, like you said, I'm a charismatic guy. I can talk myself out of any situation. While this guy goes, I'm not that guy. I have to be direct. But it works no matter what because at our company, it's not, it's not prejudice in a sense where we don't care about your skin color, age, education level. We just care about hard work.
Yeah, and the methods are the same, or the principles are the same. The methods is what varies. Delivery. But think about like the benefit there. I was telling a group of managers the other day, like the benefit of having so many different success stories gives everybody the ability that joins the company, somebody that they can relate to and say, oh, me too. I think I could do it that way. That's kind of how I am. And the benefit of that, because the methods is what people can connect to. The principles are the same within every in-home, but the method and the delivery and the packaging is what you can say, I think that's more like me. And if you find that person, devour it. And then on work spots, you can shoot them a message like, hey, can I get 10 minutes of your time? And guess what? They're going to say yes. I'm asking more time with different agents from different groups of my own sometimes because my phone and that's a beautiful thing. We're all selflessly serving each other, and it doesn't make sense.
Right. But it's not supposed to because, we're just paying it forward because we were all brand new at one point, and someone did it for us. So we now know that because we're in the position that we are and someone now needs our help, it's only right to pay it forward. You know what I mean? I say this all the time. It's like, there's so many different groups in FFL, but at the end of the day, we're Team FFL. We're on Sean Mike's team.
Which that's not common with
nobody.
Yep. Like I talk to somebody like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, what is it? What's in it for you? And it's like, well, that's why we're so big. That's why our growth doesn't make sense. Because when you do something different that it should be done that way, but it's just culturally not accepted to serve other people, what doesn't have a vested, it always comes back. Sowing and reaping. And we get to live that concept and reap the benefits of it.
Some of the best business advice I've got here about building an agency came from people that do not make a financial dollar of anything I do. Like I've learned how to build this business and structure it from Zach Radowski. I've learned how to work with agents and stuff with like Alondra and Nina because they're growing like crazy. So I'm like, hey, I have no ego. What are you doing? And they're like, I'll show you. And I'm like, wow, like you're so open with the knowledge. And that's what was so fascinating about it because we're not competing with one another here. We're completing one another. And it's like as long as we all win, the company wins. It just makes it easier for everybody to recruit when that happens.
That's great, man. That's a big deal. Well, talk about, I think one of the things I want to spend a little time on is when you said, going from like, crisis to surviving to really thriving. I think you're absolutely right. And it's easy to get to a place of surviving here pretty quick because the comp's so high. I mean, the leads, it's not difficult to do that. What do you think are some reasons or ways for somebody to battle or not fall into complacency? Like, what are some things that they can do to really kind of hedge themselves against that?
Well, I think it can't be about the money because if it's always about the money, once you hit that number, you're done. I think your reason why, like when I work with new agents, and let's say I'm hiring you, Paul, right? And I go, hey, so why are you working with Family First Life? You're like, I got to make money. Okay, for what? You're like, well, I got to make money because I got to take care of the kids. I got to do this, that, and the other. Okay, cool. So like that's what the money's going to do. So we're going to focus on those things because if you just need to make money, you can do 100 other things to make money, right? And so when I talk to agents, like when we battle complacency, what I tell agents is I'm like, FFL is like a double-edged sword. It can be really, really good, and it can be really, really bad. And what I mean by that is in 90 days, you can be in a completely different financial situation than you are today. Like I paid off my wedding in cash in 90 days when I got started here. And it didn't make any sense because what happened was, because it was about the money, after I paid off the wedding, that very next month I wrote like no business. Right? And so like I had to have something that, kept me going, which was retire my wife. When we had our daughter, I wanted to make sure that we were going to live in a home, not just necessarily an apartment. So I had to create the financial ability to have a down payment. Like I ran for things. I didn't run for the money, even though those things cost money. Right. And so, for example, like right now, my mom's sick and my family's sick. I'm not running for the money. I'm running to be able to take care of my family. If they need the help, we can cut a check and not worry about it. Mm-hmm. Those were the things that kept me away from being complacent. Because one of the things that we notice is, going back to it, prior to me working at FFL, I never made 20 grand in my life, a month. And then everybody's training is 20K, 20K, 20K. And I'm like, okay, dude, once you make that and you go, that was pretty easy, you get very complacent because instead of going, let me up my activity, you go, let me drop it to do the same 20. And I'm like, when agents understand it, if managers, we can set that expectation and go, dude, what people don't account for is you get better with time. So like you run 30 appointments when you're brand new, you sit on 20, you close 10. What happens is you don't eventually run 20 appointments to sit on 10 to close 5. You stay with the 30 appointments. Don't drop your activity. Keep it high so the income doubles. Keep the foot on the gas, right? And that's what I think I see is when people get good, they dial it back. And I'm like, if they can just understand that, don't dial it back. Keep your foot on the gas for another year or two. You'll never need to worry about money ever again.
That's good, man. And, because it's kind of like, it's easy to go back to the reasons on why you're doing it when it's in a just a high crisis mode. Like I remember reading this somewhere and it said, like when the Navy SEALs are going through like their training and it's like they're about to just give up, like they're dying, like I'm done. And the partner, the best thing they could do is just say, dude, why are you doing this? Why are you here anyways? Mm-hmm. And then boom, instantly, man, they're able to dig that a little bit deeper, get past the pain and move forward, because the pain is not, it's a mental thing. And if the payoff is so great, the pain becomes smaller and it's just getting the perspective on the why. But I think it's essential also when you start checking off the why. If you don't have more reasons to follow, the bag of reasons isn't big enough, that's where complacency sets 100%. Up. And see, for some of you guys, you're living in the house that used to be your why. You're driving the car that used to be your why. Your situation financially, your bank account is at the level where it used to be your reason. Mm-hmm. And if there's not more things that follow behind that, you're going to be complacent. And you can say, well, I've accomplished what I wanted. Complacency sucks, man. It's a sucky feeling because I've fallen into it, periodically in my life, and it isn't fun.
But that's the thing is, if it's always about you, you're going to get complacent quickly, which is why like the whole thing of success is when you can create it for yourself. Significance is when you can do it for others. We recently recruited a guy. He's in his mid-50s. He sold his business for a multi 8-figure plus income, right? And he said, Steve, I've been bored for the last 6 years. I have no purpose. He's like, because I'm taken care of. But like I wake up every day going, is this all life is? Mm-hmm. And he's like, so the reason why I'm looking at FFL is not because I need the money. I want to go impact others. And see, I think that's the reason why Sean and guys like you and Andrew keep staying in the road and working with agents, because yes, you guys are taken care of, but you work with so many people that are getting started today that need the very thing that you needed when you got started. And it's only right for you to pay it forward. Absolutely.
Well, I think one reason that almost can keep you going no matter what your situation looks like, if you're in, and again, the best situation you've ever been in, is having like virtue reasons, like becoming more virtuous. Like my goal is just to become a better human being. Yeah. Like when I meet God one day where he's like, well done, good and faithful servant, like he's not concerned with just the successes, but he's concerned with the significance. He's concerned with who I've become and what that looks like. And I think that's something that is very important to always keep in front of you. Like, how can you develop and get better? Because I'm crazy dysfunctional in many different areas. Like if you said, Paul, give me your net worth, or we can put your thoughts on the screen right now, I'd be like, here's the net worth. I'll rebuild it, because it's just like we all have stuff. Like, dude, I'm battling it all the time. Yeah. I got to renew my mind every day. But talk about, as we wrap up, man, like, what are some attributes, Stephen, do you think that in the past 7 years you've developed, I mean, I know you've developed like almost all the different attributes that you desire, but what are one or two attributes that you've seen really grow and develop in yourself over the past 7 years that have made the biggest difference in the business you now lead?
This sounds cheesy because it's like when you talk about success, we're always using like adjectives. But I think that one of the biggest things was discipline, and discipline as in like my own schedule, discipline in my like disciplining my disappointments, distracting my distractions, things like that. And what I mean was 7 years ago, dude, I used to wake up at like 9 or 10 in the morning and start my day, run appointments from 11 to 4, write 20 grand a month, and I'm good. Now, when you lead a big agency, I'm up at 4 in the morning because I have a team on the East Coast that might need my help. My last phone call might be 10:30 at night because we have team in Southern California or we have team in Hawaii that they're still running appointments. And, you know, things like that, just being able to, the one thing that I will say is I would never want to be in a situation where I couldn't help an agent because I wasn't there because I was sleeping. So like me waking up early was game changer in my business because, you know, with a wife and kids, the house gets loud. Mm-hmm. But at 4 in the morning, everybody's sleeping. And that's where I get me time. I get the ability to work out. I get the ability to read and shape my mind and think positively and start my day off right. Those things have been massive for me because the best conversations I usually have with agents are in the morning right after I do those things.
Yep.
And so for me, the discipline in the schedule, like I've always said this, they've created planners, daily planners, weekly planners, all that stuff, schedules for who? For unsuccessful people or for successful people? Of course, because successful people run out of a calendar. You want to get a hold of Sean, guess what? You have to get through his calendar. Same thing with you, Andrew. Everybody has a calendar. Successful people run out of a calendar. They're very disciplined to that calendar. Once I realized that, I was really disciplined on my calendar. I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing at every single day of the moment. If it was family time, if it was lunch, if it was a recruiting call, it was a Zoom, whatever it was, my schedule ran it by me. I think that changed my business because I was way more efficient, right? Because like the last thing I would want to do is be like, hey, there's a gap from 10 to 12. What am I doing during that time? It's because, you know, like they always say, you know, idle times is the devil's playground. And I'm like you. I'm like, hey, you give me too much time, I find something stupid to do. But I'm like, but if you go, hey, you have to be in this meeting or this phone call or this thing at this time, I can go, okay, how can I dominate that meeting, dominate that event, right? So discipline was a big thing.
Hey, real quick to the discipline point, do you think that you felt more fulfilling, more self-satisfaction when you became more structured and disciplined?
You know what it was is small wins. Small wins lead to big wins. So like full transparency, like life's been really rough lately for me. You know, everybody in the hospital and such. But like I look at small wins. So like if I have like, let's say my schedule from 5 in the morning to 10 at night and I go, I check that off. I'm like, that's a win. I did that. I talked to that agent. He's going to get, you know, in the field and buy some leads. I built small wins. And because I built small wins, the confidence went up. Mm-hmm. And that was massive for me because, you know, the whole thing about sports is like you look good, you play good, right? You feel good, you play good. You look good, you feel good, you play good. And I'm a big proponent of that. It's like it's not about us bragging about what we have, but it's like if I feel good about the activity I've done, I can easily transfer my energy to that next person. I can influence more people when I'm in a good state of mind than when I'm hating life.
That's good.
You know?
Yeah, that's good, man. It's like confidence, I think, is one of the number one attributes of top producers and agency owners. It just is, man. And like some people think, well, I get confidence from experience. Now, confidence comes from, like you said, small wins and doing what you say you're going to do. But if you don't have anything scheduled and planned, then how can you ever sit back and say, I did what I said I was going to do? It wasn't even planned. Like you just put out fires. You circumstantially went throughout your day and dealt with circumstances. And you didn't take control of the circumstances. Circumstances dictated you because there was no true wins. And so I think that the fulfillment is tied from doing what we say we're going to do. Yeah. But if you don't plan it, then you're never saying you're going to do anything. Right. So therefore, whatever you do is not tied to what you said. It's just what you did. Right. And confidence comes from that, you know, where you now are more confident in all these other areas of your life because you just hold yourself in such a way where you're like, I'm dependable. Right. Like there's something about having a dependable person. Like most people kind of get this like with staff, like where you just like, if I tell them, oh man, it just feels good. Like I don't have to carry the yoke. Like I've given it to them and rest assured it's going to get done. And think about the times where you give somebody to something or something to somebody in you're not sure. Like, it's like, why did I even give it to them? Emotionally, I'm still tied to that actual thing that needs to be done. And we're a lot of the same way. So if we can just plan it and then execute, man, that's the path to getting to a place where everything else gets better because you're more confident.
Yep.
And you can't give what you don't got.
Right.
How do you give clients confidence, which that's what they're looking for? You can't give it if you don't have it.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's a big deal, man. So you had one more?
No, I was going to say, too, it's like you build a lot of confidence by doing the thing you don't want to do. Like, you know, waking up and working out. You build a lot of confidence in yourself when you go, man, it's like the elephant in the room. You're like, I know I'm supposed to work out and eat clean, but I'm like, do I really want to do it? But then, like, when you do it, you just feel like this natural high of energy, you know, the hormones in your body, and you're just like, man, I feel good right now. And you're like, you know what, let's make some recruiting calls right now. Good. You know, and that's the big thing for me. So discipline was one of them. The second thing was like work ethic. And what I mean by that is when I started writing 20 grand a month, I thought I was working hard. And then I remember going, 20 grand ain't enough. I need to write 40 grand a month. And then I started doing that. And then I was like, oh, this is a new level of work. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, now I got to build a team. So like I went from, I don't know, sales manager, senior sales to VP. And the work was roughly the same, but from VP to EVP, the work like double, tripled. And I was like, ooh, this is a different level type of work. And I built my confidence through my work because one of the things, you know, like Sean says, one of the best ways to have a strong self-image is by your work ethic. There's a reason why I take pictures in the office at 6 a.m. or take pictures of me driving to places, because it's like I want people to know, you can count on me. That if you call me at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. my time, I'll answer the phone. You know, assuming I don't have another phone call, like I'm here to help because I want to be able to return, like I said, the favors that everybody did for me. If I was in a home that I was stuck, if I was, you know, dealing with a leadership issue or something with the agency, and I can make a phone call to you or to Andrew or to Trey or Joe or Sean, whatever it is, they would answer and be able to help me. I wanted to be able to just return the favor for others. And so for me, like, you know, work ethic, it's like I found out it's relative and there's always another gear. And you don't know that you have that gear until you get to the gear right below it. Like you don't know there's a fifth gear until you get to a fourth, right? And for me, that was where like
it's good.
Some people go, hey, you know, how many hours do you work a week? I'm like, I don't know. I just work, dude. I don't sit there and track my hours. I'm not an employee. I run this thing when I wake up and when I go to bed. I'm thinking about this business literally all day long. I dream about. My wife was like, "Do you know you did your in-home presentation the other day in your sleep?" And I'm like, "Maybe it's time to get back in the field." You know, but
give me an objection, baby.
Right,
next time, give me an objection.
But that's the beauty of this thing is like, you know, the difference between the folks that are moving very quickly and the ones that aren't is we eat, breathe, and sleep this thing.
That's right, and it's like that with everything, you know. Man, dude, I love you, bro, and I think that for anybody that's working with you, I don't know, I feel like they're getting the best brought out of them by watching you, and that's true leadership. And that's the thing I loved about this business is there's not very many businesses where positional leadership, there's no position. Like you're all independent contractors, right. Which means that if you are acting in the positional leadership role, it's going to be bad because they don't have to listen, right. And they shouldn't. And so it's actually more detrimental than it is even in a corporate environment. But you know, leading by example and leading by relationship, that's essential. And you've got both of those down, you know, and you've also reproduced your success in others as they're starting to see success and that's significance, like you said, to you. And it's just, it's a great thing, man. And that stuff will help you build your deserve more. Like, I just deserve more. If you go out there and do what you say you're going to do, if you do what's not pleasant, the thing that you don't want to do, and you suppress the feeling, and you feed, you know, you feed basically the next level that you don't know yet's there until you do it. And then if you go out and work real hard, I mean, how do you not deserve more?
Right.
So you don't think when you go to that appointment and they say they want to think about it or whatever, that you're not going to do what you normally wouldn't have done because you just think you deserve more? Or when you go and buy those batch leads that you book those appointments, you don't think you're going to book more because you deserve more? Yep. Or when you talk to that person on social media, of course you are. And so a lot of it is just giving yourself the edge and advantage. And so, man, great podcast. Thank you, brother. Love you, man.
Appreciate you for having me.
Guys, let's go out there and crush it. Make sure to subscribe, like it, share it. I think I speak for everybody when I say that this podcast was definitely worth rewatching and sharing. So make sure to share it so that others can see it. Comment on the YouTube page, and you'll be in the running for lead money, which is never a bad thing, being the fact that the more leads we got, the more money we'll make, and the more people we can serve. So, guys, make it a big week. Thank you, Stephen. Be strong. Stay steadfast. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the $250 lead credit giveaway. If you commented on the video that's playing right here, featuring Joe Miller, you're automatically entered to win. So what are you doing? Stop, comment right down below right now on this video. You don't want to miss it. Who doesn't want a chance to win $250 in free leads? That's incredible. That's how you make money. $250 can turn into $20,000 or $40,000 if you're Chase Cramp. You know, comment. If you haven't commented on it, pause the video. I'll be here. I'll be here when you get back. Comment right now to enter to win. But we thank you guys for commenting every week. We love it. We love hearing what you guys have to say, how it helped you, suggestions for future videos, etc. It's wonderful. We love hearing it. So comment down below. Without further ado, let's see who won last week's contest. Jim. He says, thank you for your service, Joe. Jim, you just won $250 in lead credit. Go ahead, get in touch with Victoria. Her number's going to be right here. Guys, it's that simple. Even thanking Joe Miller for his service in the military, like, it's that simple. It's all he had to do, and now he got $250 worth of leads. So guys, leave a comment before you get away from this video. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.